must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
It is ridiculous and it is against the laws of nature that we can have somebody sitting pretty who takes home more money than the credible entrepreneur who is doing actual production of goods and services.
We always say it as it is.
It is only in this country that when a thief is arrested, you hear elders from their tribe saying, "He is our son and he is our thief."
If you are deviant
and I call you leader, probably you are already a leader, but you are leading in the wrong direction.
We want to see the role of the youth in the security, governance, and development.
The youth that I meet and work with here, you know, we call them the millennials and X's and Y's, this and that. They don't necessarily want to live like their fathers and grandfathers, do business like their fathers and grandfathers. They're more independent, they're better educated, and they're the ones that are making everything move in this region.
We look at the issues, we talk about issues that impact people's lives in Africa.
The African peoples themselves continue to cheer bad leaders, and because they cheer them on, they continue to be misled.
Let me ask you, doctor, would you rather be somebody who does not enjoy so much freedom but you are rich? Or you'd rather be poor who you are actually imprisoned by the poverty itself?
My goal is not to come here and say, I want the majority ownership, I want to own this, I want to own that, I want to do this. My goal is we all make money and we're all happy, and I help build a big business here.
Punchline is for Africa, with Africa, from Africa.
Viewers, those listening to this tape or this video, I want to bring to your attention that the politics of proxy wars in Africa is becoming real, and it has become a reality. I want to bring to the attention of the African states that time and time again we have fallen victims of proxy wars. We fight wars that are not ours. We fall in conflicts that are not supposed to be, don't help Africa, and they don't help our countries at all. The proxy war that is in East and Central and the Horn of Africa has been ignited, supported, equipped by France. It has been very real that the French government, quietly through its company called Total Oil, has been searching for resources around the triangle of East and Central Africa and the Great Lakes region and the Horn of Africa. The LAPSET was one of them, which could have been a landmark project for the people of France. They withdrew from it. The Tanga to Mwanza, they made it, they withdrew from it. The search for oil and resources through Total Oil has brought us the dangers of a proxy war in the region. It is therefore very prudent for people of the region to understand the dynamics that we are going through. For example, in Rwanda and the Burundi conflict, there is a proxy war. We are fighting a proxy country has brought us to a war between the two countries, between Uganda and Rwanda and Burundi. There is a proxy war in Congo who is sponsoring a resurgence of rebels that are fighting President Tshisekedi because he was not supported by countries that we know very well. This type of strategy has happened in North Africa, where Libya has been reduced to rebels, where each faction, even the government supported by United Nations, is being bombarded by a rebel called Khalifa Haftar, who is funded by countries that we know. The question of Somalia and the Kenyan maritime presents a challenge, a testy case for Africa and East Africa to stand firm and denounce the actions of countries that bring proxy wars and proxy politics in our region. It is therefore my humble submission that for this conflict, for this to end, we must do enough publicity, advocacy around the area to tell and explain to the international community why this problem is going to create an imbalance in the peace in the region, and the regional peace will be affected. It is therefore my humble submission that as a Ugandan whose troops, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers of other many millions Ugandans who are in Somalia, condemn any action by the Somali government to try to resolve issues that should have been resolved amicably as Africans within the African confines. I submit, therefore, that some of us will go a mile further to do now, from now onwards, to expose, to show the challenges of these countries that make us fight a proxy war in Africa. Thank you very much for listening. God bless you.
We call for a non-violent revolution. We call for a non-violent protest. We call for a non-violent march. This is what we are demonstrating to the world, and we have resisted Mr. Biya's army of occupation in our land, but this is a moment that we must continue to stand firm.
Of this nation.
Along with many other Cameroonians, many of you, as far back as the early 90s, and more frequently lately, I have insisted upon the imperative nature of genuine dialogue. Unfortunately, the government's solution has been cosmetic reforms and repression. Teachers, lawyers who raised legitimate concerns were either arrested or forced into exile. Doctors, important people in our society who asked for genuine dialogue, were met with punitive transfers and humiliation. It is regrettable that the government hasn't learned from the past.
We are ambassadors. We don't need anything again. The only solution to the matter is let the government solve this problem by giving our independent freedom.
We have a territory of our own. We recognize international boundaries. We have a language. We have a culture. We have our own laws. We have everything that is required by international standards to be a people and a nation and a state. The UN must give us this right.
We as a people, we have the right to self-determination, and we are determined to go our separate ways.
The people of the Southern Cameroons have suffered under the brutal regime of the annexationists, La République du Cameroun. We have suffered for 56 years, and we finally decided that enough is enough.
I think dialogue is the main solution, because the use of military has never been a solution to a problem concerning this kind of issues. So the government of Cameroon has to dialogue with the Anglophone regions to come to a compromise and let this problem be solved.
Now, we want to inform the whole world that the Southern Cameroonian prisoners of conscience in the jails of Yaoundé are on the second day of their declared hunger strike. Now, we want the entire world to know, because we are convinced that the regime in Yaoundé will be indifferent until they begin to die. While we encourage our brothers in this process, we also call on Southern Cameroonians to join them in a fasting so that the whole world may know that we are a determined people.
Self-determination cannot be effective without self-defense. We are opposed to violence. We are opposed to war. But if La République, if the UN should continue to dilly-dally as they are doing, and La République comes now to attack our people, they are forced, they are bound by the law of nature to defend themselves.
Today, thousands and thousands of Africans and many countries in Africa have conflicts. Notably, from Libya, Cameroon, Nigeria, Biafra, and the Boko Haram, to Democratic Republic of Congo, of where we have seen a resurgence of the past military and conflicts coming back in that country. Hundreds and hundreds of people have been displaced, killed, maimed, tortured, raped, several of them dying of hunger, starvation, and other natural causes. The fighting seems not to be ending. For the sake of Libya, the Libyan recognized international government is under siege in Tripoli from another faction recognized by Egypt, France, UAE, and other countries. Whereas the one in Tripoli is recognized by the UN, it has been bombarded, has been strangulated, and many millions of Libyans are dying of hunger, lack of water. The water system has been cut off. The bombardment goes on. In Democratic Republic of Congo, we've seen more of active rebel activities returning to the region after some silence has been observed. When we come to Cameroon, we see millions and millions of Amazonians slaughtered. Yet, when you come to Biafra, again millions and hundreds of millions and millions are worried, displaced, tortured by the Buhari regime. Yet again in the north, we see Boko Haram killing, maiming, abducting, and burning down villages in the same Nigeria. When you cross over to Central African Republic, the same is the history that has littered Africa. While all these events are taking shape, Africa is silent. Africa is not making enough efforts to find a solution to what is causing the problems in Libya, in DRC, in Cameroon, in Nigeria, Biafra, and now you add in Khartoum, Sudan. As people die, the people of Africa have no answers, have no solutions. There's nothing to bring an end to the conflicts that have killed Africa. We seem to be new ones manufactured, old ones reignited, encouragement coming from external powers. One power that has been seen in the shadows of all these conflicts, especially the one of Libya, that has escalated in the Sahara region of Africa is France. When you come to Democratic Republic of Congo, the same country is in the shadows. The war can be seen is France. When you come to Cameroon, in Amazonia, the one behind that has the key to bringing peace is France. Therefore, our question as Africans, why are we silent? Why are we not saying enough is enough of the wars? Thank you.
You know, when one is asked to talk about leadership in Africa, one's mind wanders in many directions, because in the recent past, the continent of Africa has been the subject of scrutiny from many quarters. There are those who are Afro-pessimists and take the view that Africa will never realize our potential. There are those Afro-optimists who take the view that the jury is still out on the success or otherwise of the continent of Africa. I am an Afro-optimist. I take the view that this continent has had a glorious past, and that this continent has had her trials and tribulations, but her better days are in the future. There are those who, when talking about Africa, are in the habit of dealing with Africa as if it were one monolithic block. They do not recognize that the beauty of Africa is in her diversity. And indeed, when you care to undertake a geographical survey of Africa, you will be amazed at what the West of Africa offers, what the center of Africa offers, what the South of Africa offers, what the Horn of Africa offers, and what the North of Africa offers. That is the continent that we are talking about today. And we are talking about her because she continues in many ways to punch below her weight. And many are the commentators who take the view that the reason why she continues to punch below her weight is because the men and women who have had the privilege and honor to serve her in different political capacities or leadership capacities have not served her well. There may be merit in that assessment, but those who are quick to judge, those whose only claim to fame is that they are professional fault finders, must ask many questions before they judge and condemn Africa unfairly. This continent, and I remember, and if we are to judge this continent fairly, we must go back to the past. and look to the past and ask about this continent, and there are many who have written about this continent. How many of you here will forget the great writings of Senegal's Ante Cheikh Diop, who has documented in many ways the glorious past of the continent of Africa, the great kingdoms in Africa. When Europe was still in the caves, Africans were building monuments. If they were not building them in the Ashanti Empire, they were building them in Monomotapa here in Zimbabwe. And there is a sense in which all those have been consigned to the Museum of History. And those who look at Africa see Africa as a scar on the conscience of humanity, not remembering that they were themselves co-authors of Africa's misfortunes. The only continent and the only people in the world who have been commodified. How many of you will remember that agrarian Europe had to commodify Africa in order to realize our level of development? At one time in those early days, we will remember, even as we talk about leadership, that half of the population of this continent was taken away. If they were not taken away from Ghana, which they then christened Gold Coast, they were taken away from Angola. If they were not taken away from Angola, they were taken away from Mozambique. If they were not taken from Mozambique, they were taken from Senegal. If the Arabs were not taking us, the Europeans were taking us. If the Europeans in their different tribes were not conquering us, they were stealing from us. Those are the realities that we don't talk about when we talk about this continent. And you know, if one cares to judge the African continent, one must be historically conscious. The oldest African country after we regained our independence from greater chief. And the question that we must ask ourselves, why is it that this continent finds ourselves in that space? If it is not Europe summoning us, it is the United States of America summoning us. Everybody is in the business of summoning us.
Good morning, Africa. Good morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you very much for watching Punchline Africa TV, broadcasting all the way from Nairobi, the Republic of Kenya. I want to thank all of you who have been watching while I was away in Zimbabwe for the funeral service of His Excellency, the late President Robert Gabriel Mugabe, on the whole weekend from Friday. I want to take this opportunity to thank Miriam for having taken the tenacity and the steadfastness of handling the situation while I was away. I'm back here and thank you very much. Good morning, Africa. Wherever you are, and we put facts where they are, and we've said as it is. We are not going to be bored, intimidated. We say it as it is. We know where the problem of Africa is. We know what kills Africa, what ails Africa. Anyone who has it, let him come on the table and we discuss which direction Africa takes. But today, this morning, I have joined or rejoined the family of Miriam And thank you very much. Yesterday, I watched your show. It was fantastic. And we had a lot of difficulties in communication right from Zimbabwe because most of the places have no internet. And it's only a few places that gazetted have internet where you can be able to transmit yourselves or you can communicate. But thank you very much. You tried yourself, your level best. You did not try. You did the level best. Yesterday, I was impressed. Welcome to this show this morning. And we shall, as usual, start with the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta. What does it mean? What does it done? What can it do? Successes, failures, and obstacles of the legacy. Politicking, body politicking. Too much politics in Kenya. Too much stupid politics at times, I can call it. Some of the things are not very impressive. Some of the things are fighting shadows. We are fighting shadows. And people are fighting shadows. The Jubilee Party seem to be disarray. And the ruling of Mariga, yes, Chebukati. I have said it time and time again, and I want to say it because I say it on Facebook, and I come here and I say it. And let them, those who want to kill me can kill me. But until they kill me is when I will continue talking until I'm dead. Like Martin Luther, like Malcolm X, and the others who have stuck on the truth. They better be killed by the truth, but not to surrender to stupidity. The whole thing is you can't stop gazetting an election in the whole country. Then allow those who have been elected, those who have, you say no voting, no registration of voters in the whole country. But the voters from that part of the country could run into this constituency, 2,000 of them, because they are registered voters. So what does the law say? What do you think, what do you really gain by saying the gazettement and the voting and the registration is until the new register is uploaded? But you have allowed the voters on this side. Everybody in Kenya can run to vie for the Kibera constituency. Stupidity of the law. Look at that. I have no problem with Mariga or whatever he is. I don't know him and I don't like to know him. Because I used to play football, but not to the level of that lad. When I was young and in senior secondary school in 1971, 72, 73, I was one of the wingers running, very small young man, for playing for my senior secondary school. But I have no problem there. But I have problem with corrupt leaders behind Mariga. Is Mariga cleaning the money? We know, remember, we have only a few days, 13 days left. Is he fighting so hard to come to do what? He won't win that seat. The bottom line is that the Raila Odinga's ODM will win that seat. Come on 7th of which date are they voting? Is it 7th or 8th in the morning? The ODM will win the seat. Maybe Mariga is doing a rehearsal for 2022. Fine. He can put his feet there. But as a party, you must weigh your options. You embarrass yourself. You go in the public and start embarrassing yourself with a candidate whose date of birth does not synchronize with his face. Because date of birth must synchronize with your. You can't say you are. When did you start playing football?
And I think now police.
Then you'd be too old for those teams in London. Because those teams in London like younger men. You see, people are playing cheap politics, and we shall see the politics of intrigue. Where does the politics of intrigue take the people, Miriam? And that is over to you.
The topic of the day, and thank you so much for joining us. Now, when you look at the IEBC and the statements that is coming from the chairperson and also some of the members there, the IEBC officials, first of all, that lady came out and said, we looked all over the registrar, this guy's name is not there, and then Chebukati comes out and says he is cleared. So IEBC yet again now is coming here and playing games with Kenya. These are things that should have sorted out behind the door.
Exactly.
Then come out and
you know
voice, to
the
give us confidence.
the biggest problem Kenya is going to have and will face, and I want to say it now, so that people don't think that I say it on Facebook. Now, and you hear me, is Chebukati. If Kenya wants stability, remove Chebukati. He's stupid, he's silly, he's naive. Just get him out. Chebukati, Maraga, 2 people. I speak my mind. You can go to hell if you want. If you can hate me, I'm not bothered. But Chebukati and Maraga are the worst enemies of the Kenyan people when it comes to elections. And if we don't get them out, this country will be on the bloodbath. Chebukati is a stooge of a certain politician in this country. And that is going to be manifested. If you try anything now, look at the way he cleared the signatures of a court. 1.4 million signatures cleared, verified. That's it. This is NGO. I told the people here a few months ago, Chebukati went to Cambridge. Akombe flew from the United States of America to Cambridge in the United Kingdom. There's nothing you do in Britain without, you don't pass me. You don't pass my eye. In those areas, I'm also an expert, please. We know the meeting that took place. You tell me there was no meeting in Cambridge University where even my daughter is. But unluckily, unfortunately, she was on holiday and she doesn't succumb to stupidity. Look, if you look at what was happening in Cambridge, what is the program behind Chebukati? Is George Soros. Kenyans don't want to hear the truth. This is George Soros' agenda. Through an electoral defranchised system, Kenya is going to find itself at a fighting edge. You better get Uhuru Kenyatta's message of unity. Hallelujah, haki ya Mungu. Some of us are about to get out of this. Some of us, and I tell those who can listen, I will get out of this. I take a lot of risks on Kenya. I go and file cases in the international community on Kenya. I am the one hated in the international community. I'm about to get out. Just get me very clear. Because I don't survive because of this. Let people know we are firing all these cases because of what, Miriam? Because I want Kenya a stable country. Once Kenya is stable, my country will have stability. But they don't want to listen to me. The problem of Kenya is the electoral systems mechanisms that confuse each and everything. You get the point? There you are. If I'm wrong, look at Chebukati. That's a man in the parliament should sweep and take to the dustbin. Quickly, let him not handle the referendum. Let him not handle the question of the referendum. He is biased. I know who pays him. I know how he's being paid. I know where the money, where it comes from. This is not his instructions. Okay. Akombe arrives in Cambridge, meeting. They thought they were meeting alone. There are some Pan-Africans who saw them. Some of them are pay allegiance to us. When going to London, I went with the former chairman of the IEBC. We sat on the same business class table, seat, on 23rd of August. I was on a flight together with him. I know what Chebukati is doing. There is no signature verification mechanism in Kenya. Where is it? Show me where is your date of signature. Where? He passed Uhuru. Now Uhuru is dividing the nation. His bill is populist. It has no legs. It has just limbs of intestines and some hanging mafikizolos. You get the point? They come, now their aim is to make sure that Kenyatta's legacy is dead. So President Kenyatta here on the one hand is telling Raila Odinga, we move on, man, brother. We forget the past. Let's move on. Unite this country. leave a legacy. If you go to Zimbabwe, I was in Zimbabwe from Friday. The legacy, Mugabe is gone. But if you could see amongst the ruling class, the worry of how do they, even nobody, the state could grab that body and bury. Isn't it? But some of us came in and told Emerson, no, leave the wife to do what she wants to do. And the elders of the clan have done what they want to do. Let's do an international approach. Let the people come and pray for the elder. Our elder African, Pan-African guy is gone. We go home. What you want to do, you can do it. But you can see some form of people respect. There was respect. Even those who don't want him had respect, because there was some serious semblance of wisdom that Mugabe imparted on his people. Here we have people, and a part of the problem of the country called Kenya, and I want to state it for you, especially you Kenyans, Miriam and the rest, is the electoral system of this country. If you don't clean that electoral system and you put this stupid man called Chebukati, is useless. You have seen the way he has been doing his things. You saw. In the other time he doesn't know how to interpret the law. And there you are. It is coming up. 3 men left to be corrupted. 3. No, there is no gender parity, even no woman. 3 men sit down and make a decision. Then you are the electoral commission and you are condemning your junior. Have you seen that? The junior staff is the employee of Wafula Chebukati. Now, she is being condemned. Yet, why did they waste taxpayers' money to sit even yesterday? Why did they waste Jubilee time? They should have said, postpone this up to 2 o'clock. You come later, or up to before midnight. Let me go and consult Chebukati. That's how a proper mechanism. It is like a Chief Justice Maraga. Chief Justice Maraga says there is no theft in the court. There is nobody doing anything to do with any drugs. Now the evidence coming from Akasha indicate one senior lawyer, judge, a lady was very much in the entire syndicate. And I tell people in Africa all the time, I tell them that one day they will hear my voice and think about the action. I told Ugandans that be careful, the Americans are coming. Now they have, Americans have picked one Ugandan, very powerful man, a great OB, the former OB of mine, a great mind, a very good thinker. He has been sacrificed. The signals that are coming in this region are going to tell you exactly where this region is ending. If we are not careful, we are ending up in a political malaise that will not go away from us. And therefore, people must wake up. People must tell the truth. Chebukati and Maraga. If I were Uhuru Kenyatta, I would not try any bill of election when Chebukati is the chairman of the Electoral Commission. Because you are playing in the hands of George Soros. Jamen, look at the story. We shall do the story of Somalia today. Why should I stick my international stature to go and defend when people are not willing? When some stupid men call you stupid, when they can't brush women. A woman calls you stupid. When my wife cannot call me stupid. You call me stupid, my wife does not call me stupid. And more so, even my wife is more educated than some of them who even they actually wanted to kill Kenyatta. They wanted to kill Ruto. They wanted They go on calling people stupid. Because you have simply brought a serious motion to them and they said there is a problem here. And they go on calling stupid. Stupid, you didn't produce me. I'm going to take it on later at 2, at 3 p.m. or 4. I'll take it. And I'm able. But I'm not going to stick out. I'm giving warning shots. I will not stick out, kill my international name for people who don't really appreciate what you are doing. I would get out. Because these are some, you can't have electoral commission chairman to that level. Another election is approaching. Referendum is approaching. He cleared a court in a split of seconds. Wafula Chebukati is a very dangerous. Which case has Wafula Chebukati won? Show me a case of a cat and a rat that Wafula won in the Kenyan books. Why do we bring disaster to ourselves? Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And speaking about Chebukati and the clearing, of course, of Donald Mariga, he's still now, as much as he's been given the green light to go and vie for the Kibra constituency, but a voter has questioned integrity of his ID card. So somebody has gone to court, and I think the police are already investigating that. So I don't know why some factions of Jubilee are setting up the party to be embarrassed in this manner. And also just outside of that, of course, the confusion we've seen from the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, that is the IEBC, the electoral body here in Kenya. Is there a time, Doctor, you think that Kenya, we will get it right when it comes to the electoral body in Kenya? We'll get the right people there to do the job.
It is to get the right electoral body, you listen to recommendations. Kenyans are not listening. They don't want, even Ruto has set up a group to oppose the BBI. Already, it is on the headline. Can't you read it for them, the headline? It's there. Everywhere he's going, he says BBI. You haven't read the things. You are in the same government. You have not read the things. Jamen, these young men are going to bring this country to a disaster. Time has come. I went to Zimbabwe. Everybody who saw me inside, even cabinet ministers, I was welcomed because of a very serious, all the things I said about Zimbabwe came true. The things I'm talking to you about Kenya are true. If you don't listen, you say to people that we shall oppose the BBI. When you have not read the BBI recommendation, what are you setting the country against? International community is watching you. Is watching you. Have you seen how they have grabbed the Kaihura in Kampala? The the Americans don't want ICC, but the case they have laid against Kaihura takes Kaihura to the ICC. Honestly, very, very quietly. So Kaihura and Konyi are on the same level now. Look at that. They are on the same level on international law. And I've told these people, when you don't know internationalism, leave to the people who know internationalism. Some people here who were or even went to school on scholarships of George Soros, they pretend to know. They were given scholarships by George Soros. I never studied a scholarship on George Soros. Give me a credit. I washed plates to study. Not George Soros scholarship. That I'm given a scholarship to go Oxford to read what? You don't give me a scholarship to go to Oxford. I would rather use my money to study. And I did it with my strength. So when you look at people already opposing BBI, they haven't read it. Where are we setting the country, Miriam?
Yes, indeed. And maybe I should just read that. It's in the Daily Nation, and the front page is somewhere down there. It says Ruto lines up troops to counter the BBI, and it continues to say a battle line have been drawn in Western Kenya between opposition leader Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto. Troops ahead of the publication of the Building Bridges Initiative report, which is near completion. The recent tours and rallies in the region have seen allies of DP vow to trash any debate about referendum seeking to water down devolution, and the Raila-led team has, however, maintained that the BBI offers a clear path to rescue Kenya. So we see, even before the BBI report has been made public, the opposition is very, very... What is it that they fear about the BBI, for those who do not want it?
Because, he was not involved.
Okay. Is that the only reason?
He was not involved, but he's in the government. There's one commander-in-chief who was given a sword in Kasarani. You can't be two commanders. Sorry. One commander-in-chief called Uhuru Kenyatta was given a sword. And you are under Uhuru Kenyatta. Listen to what he has said. I have told you, Miriam, next month, when the BBI comes out, you are either in or you are out. So prepare where to be. It is not a laughing matter anymore. My daughter, you watch the lips. Either you are in or you are out. So it is up to you. You either support the BBI or you are out. And when you are out, all the skeletons will be on you. So I am saying to those down, Jesus, that parable that I'm talking to those here and those up there. Have you heard of that parable of Jesus in the Bible?
Can you complete it? Maybe I will
Yes.
understand.
Talk to those down and up. Those who have ears here. Either you are in or you are out. So decide now. You either support this. The way I see President Uhuru Kenyatta is the omnibus of the BBI left the station. The Gravestone train left the station and went long time ago. You are either in or you are out. October marks a great day, a great month for Kenya.
October.
Next month. Yes, just as I told you, September was going to be a crackers for this country over the issue of Somalia and the maritime boundaries. You saw everybody now comes up because they were keeping this thing in their offices. The Minister of Foreign Affairs kept it in their office. The Attorney General kept it in the office. Now they see you have gone to fight in the waters. I'm knocking international waters. Who hate me, French, will kill me out there. It's not a joke. Now everybody is on board. You can't do diplomacy on internationalism. You can't. You have to do all you can on internationalism. You must do activism. You must. There is no shortcut. And if you don't know whom to talk to, shut up. Shut up. Don't tell people lies that you know. You don't know. Believe me or not. In 2010, Miriam, I'm sorry to take part of your time on that.
It's part of the
2009, nobody wanted Ruto, nobody wanted Uhuru, nobody wanted the Ocampo 6. The same people were saying international, don't touch international law. These things will come back to us. This brave Ugandan stood up. You can kill me if you want, but I stood up. I saved the situation. And today I'm telling you, anyone who wants to underrate me in that field, they will fail and I will sit back and laugh. They better know. Because what I do, I don't do it for money. I'm not a money mercenary. I don't do it for payment. I've never asked for payment. Show me one day where I've asked for payment. I'm very, very disturbed. Very disturbed. When you see people doing the things that repeating, and mark you, people are watching. The international community. This Fatou Bensouda, this woman is watching everybody here. She's about to leave next month by June, next July. Next year, 2021,
so
I swear.
She's working on her legacy.
Yes, she wants also to leave a legacy. Jamen, these guys of Kenya, they don't listen. The woman wants to leave a legacy. And that legacy can go with somebody. Muchunge sana. I'm telling you, you can insult Matsanga, insult him day and night. Thank you, go ahead. But Matsanga has children grown up. The first one is 38, 39. She's married and 9 grandchildren. If you want to know it today. I don't hide my background. They are all grown up. So you insult me, you can even do anything. Tell me to go to Uganda, I don't think I live in Uganda. I live in a place where you need a visa to see me. Thank you. Let's move on. Now I have, my gloves are out from today. I've had enough. You tell people, even Jesus said, where you go, you preach, and the people don't agree. Carry the dust and go.
Shake off the dust.
Yes, don't you go to church? You do.
On their doorsteps.
I leave you to calm down things.
It's okay. You're doing well. Thank you, our viewers. Continue writing to us. John Paul, you're saying there is now a route in Cameroon to cross Atlantic Ocean illegally and arrive in the United States of America. Mediterranean Sea is becoming old route. Black people are becoming cheap all over the place. And we'll be talking about the latest from those countries, from Cameroon, Nigeria, Biafra, and Amazonia, all those places, and also South Sudan. So I hope you still stick around. And I've just been wondering, Doctor.
Yeah.
Boni Halwale seems to have a lot of time in his hands.
Not Boni Halwale.
What stake does he have here over Mariga?
He's not even a member of Jubilee Party.
He's a spokesperson for Mariga.
Yeah, he's not a member. You see, that's why those are some of the things that have annoyed me as I slept on my bed and watched Tony, this stupid man called Senator of Kagameka, who was defeated by an amateur man called Malala. You know, Tony Halwale, Boni Halwale is a doctor who has not healed even one's where is his hospital? Where is his dispensary? Where does he practice? If you call him now to go and treat a person, he's busy walking, talking rubbish everywhere like a lost sheep on TV. Boni is not a member of the Jubilee Party. He's like me. In the Jubilee Party, he's a stranger. But because if you want money from one section of Jubilee Party, which is plenty, and the time is running out for it to be eaten, 13 days to go, you must spend that money in rallies, you must spend it anyhow, throw to the people. Tony Halwale is there to do the job. So let him sweep for us a bit. Jubilee friends and members, sympathizers are ready, watching. That's a very good sign. And if Tony is like that. Boni, sorry. Boni Halwale
is like that.
Is always like that. And I refer you to my clip with him on JKL. You'll see what I told him. He's not worth it. Okay. He's a man who has no musimamo. You know, even when your children see you moving from one party to another party and they have grown up, you better stick to me, to some of the principles like us. Some of us, our children say, Dad, what is it this you do that people are very annoyed with you? Then I told one of my children, one of my sons, Ephraim, I said, one day you must struggle like I struggle. Because there is nowhere international community like to see me. First I defended Mugabe against their will. Yet they like me. Have you imagined? They like my straightness on academic. When I speak on these things, they agree with me. But when they say, when it comes to Africa, I go different way. To defend it, impossible. The French have never forgiven me for this, for having failed their ICC plot to lock up Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. They are never happy with me. So my friends don't see this. But one day I hope they will see exactly what I've gone through. But Halwale has no principle. Yes.
Halwale has no principles, and so far, I don't know how you would rate the legacy of Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta. I don't know, after he's been quite busy and quite not in the media so much. You know, last week he met with the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni. I think that was a very good initiative. So we are hoping that we'll see a lot of changes, especially in the...
And immediately Raila also went.
To Uganda?
Yes.
For the same mission?
No, Raila was in Uganda 2 days ago, 3.
Oh, that's
I'm very well conversed with the politics of the region. Ma'am, yes. Even when I'm in Zimbabwe, there's nothing in Uganda you can do without me knowing also. I have years. You remember I've been in opposition in Uganda in opposition for 34 years.
34 years. So
34 years. Since 1985, actually 34 good years. I've been in opposition. And I've also grown people who are in the systems. Yes, my people are also in the system. Whether you go to AMISOM, they are there. They are relatives of Masanga in AMISOM. So these Somalis talking that I should not talk about Somalia, they are useless in their heads. My AMISOM people are there. They are there. My brother, cousins, there are many from my village. I can count like 25 of them. Raila was in Kampala. Look at the pictures coming.
That is very
yes,
lovely, yes.
He was in Kampala. So let Ruto also go. It's up to them.
Did he go there in his own capacity as
the High Commissioner
or the infrastructure?
Yes, but it doesn't stop you from asking for
other questions.
Yes,
okay.
Thank you very much. And that is, I wouldn't like to say to His Excellency, the Deputy President, what was discussed. But if he was very friendly to me, he would have got it. Thank you. Yeah, I'm now saying the truth. Because there's nothing in Uganda that I don't know what is going to happen. I'm not against President Museveni. I'm against his attitude on democracy. But I don't eat the Ugandans don't eat democracy. Do you eat democracy? I was asking Zimbabweans. I went to a nightclub in Zimbabwe. Not a nightclub, a hotel, a restaurant. Very posh restaurant, which I took pictures. You saw some of the pictures floating. I wish I have not seen your comment. But the production team can bring them. I was waiting for Miriam to say this was a fantastic picture. Then I went to one of the restaurants in Zimbabwe, and some Zimbabweans come and say, "Oh, your friend has died now. These are the MDC." Then I told them, "Younger men, sit down. Let's have a drink." Very posh restaurant called the County Club of Harare in Newlands. And I told some of the younger men that, do you eat democracy now? If there is no food here, do you eat democracy? Huh? Out of 26 of them, I think 24 were in agreement with me. By the time I left, I convinced them
that we don't need.
They even bought me too much of this. You know, the Zimbabweans drink this cognac whiskey in bottles, not tots. We East Africans drink tots. For them, they buy the real big ones. About 6 of the bottles. I could not even have a drink of brandy, of cognac. They said, you have talked the truth. I said, you don't eat democracy. You want to destroy your country. You want to demonstrate. Do you eat democracy?
But democracy is good.
No, do you eat it? It's good, but do you eat democracy?
It's good for
I want to tell you.
For development in a country.
If you remove the sausage from the American shops for a week, Americans will riot. Go and remove sausages. They are not seen on the window. Meat is not seen on the window. You think there is no poverty in Britain?
There is.
There is poverty in Britain. But because people see the things, the tangibles in the shops, people see the shops full of goods, people see the shops are full to capacity. You can have no money, but you can have Omo to buy Omo and take it home. That is the essence of economics. If people in Zimbabwe are not seeing the goods in the supermarket, they will not eat democracy. People in Zimbabwe want to go to the shops and buy what they want for their family. Your child has malaria, you want to buy mosquito net. That's what the essence is. Plato did never tell you that democracy must be you shout all the time to get it. Democracy means you must eat. People in Uganda are eating. We have no shortage of food. We don't import food. We don't do anything. There are people eating. Museveni might have a problem of shortage of ideas on how to expand the food eating into a better eating situation so that the people who are tackling Museveni are the same ones who injured the food. You tell me. Tell me that Besigye was not part of the regime change, part of the system that made the laws that is eating, that are eating him today. Tell me. And then I can agree, then you want me to be in a chorus to condemn Museveni. You are the one who made the rules. You fight to get the rules out. And then the Matangas who never made the rules can come and lead you. We can't join ourselves in a band wagon of men who made rules that kill us today. That's the problem. In Zimbabwe, you can't eat demonstration. You eat food. What Mnangagwa should do in Zimbabwe, that's what I told him. What he should do is to get goods into the stores, into the warehouses, remove taxation from these foods, import food and tax-free, give to the people the essential goods, medicines, sugar, paraffin, oil, and you can lead that Zimbabwe until they say you are the best man.
Especially oil, and now that the Houthi rebels bombed Saudi Arabia's the place that produces the majority of the oil from Saudi Arabia. Now the Zimbabweans will even have a problem with the oil.
The Houthi?
Yeah, they did. They hit 2 reservoirs there in Saudi Arabia, the major ones.
Because Saudi Arabia is meddling itself wrongly. I have no sympathy with that.
So now oil, not only Zimbabwe, but the rest of us will just...
Yes, the rest of the world will suffer. And they are going, they are becoming more sophisticated. They will go for it. Because what Saudi Arabia has done, look at what Saudi Arabia has done in the question of Libya. Look at what they want to do in Khartoum.
What they're doing in Yemen.
What they are doing in Yemen. What they are doing across, extending the hand. Saudi Arabia leads Islamic nations. It was one of the countries that seconded Somalia against Kenya. Yet we have no problem with Somalia, with Saudi Arabia. Look at what they are doing. They are getting it. So they are feeling it now. Because the regional power becomes the worst dangerous system of sending people to kill a journalist in a Turkey. God does not want that.
Jamal.
Yes, God, that Khashoggi. Why? Because a man is talking like Matanga talks. Journalists talk. We are the guardians of the world. We can't see people in Biafra dying. And you tell me I should be happy with Buhari when I see him. No, I confront him. I'm going for the summit. Where he goes, I will confront him and say, Mr. Buhari, this is wrong. This is wrong. And look, the things are changing.
Things are changing indeed. So it's very interesting, Saudi Arabia, and of course, they're blaming Iran, especially the United States, but Iran has said it has nothing to do with it.
Iran has nothing to do with it. They are fighting.
But they insisted.
They have occupied a territory of another country, south in Sana'a, in Yemen. They should have expected that.
All right. So let's come back to our African news. I see a lot of our viewers here. Biafrans, thank you so much for joining us, and everybody else. And please let us know where you're watching. I see Odewoma Igwe, good luck. You're saying you're watching us all the way from Cambodia. Good afternoon to you. And Positive Energy, you're saying well done, sir. You're saying nothing but just the truth. Yes, indeed. And as I mentioned yesterday, the leader of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, is supposed to be meeting with some United Nations officials in Geneva, Switzerland. He chose Geneva, not the United States, because the United Nations were having their annual general meeting there in New York, in the headquarters in New York. But he said that would not have been the best place for them to meet because he's trying to lobby for support for Biafrans. And so when he finally gets a table or an opportunity to speak to the United Nations, the whole assembly, so he would have garnered enough, support across some members there. So thank you so much. So he's supposed to be meeting with them today, and as I promised, tomorrow, of course, I'll bring you the latest of that meeting if the details have been made public. And Doctor, yesterday as I was having conversations here, especially with Biafrans, they said, is it possible we can find a way of even on Skype, Nnamdi Kanu, and we can have a conversation with him?
No problem.
If that can be worked out. All right.
You can take the interview.
All right.
We have no problem with. We have been doing this thing freely for them, and we are ready to do anything for a better Africa. My position is a better Africa, an Africa that we can have, which is peaceful. The generation, the legacy. Uhuru Kenyatta is fighting to leave a legacy of a united Africa. When I was seated among the crowds in Harare, I wanted to tell you this so that it doesn't go. You know, the journalists here in Kenya hate Uhuru Kenyatta. They don't report good things he does. When Uhuru Kenyatta stood to speak,
yes, he was cheered. We saw that.
The audience, the entire crowd, I was in the crowd. I chose not to be in the pomp because I went for mourning. I did not go to show my suit or to show my clothes. But I left. I sat in the crowds because I was more interested in watching how things work. Because I'm a cadre officer as far as Zimbabwe is concerned. I'm a former comrade of a foreign comrade. I'm a fighter. I don't wear suits. I was prepared in the crowd. When Uhuru stood up to speak, I saw the entire stadium quiet. The respect that President Uhuru earns in Zimbabwe is belittled by his deputy here. So you wanted me to speak the truth. You wanted me to speak the truth, or it will hurt you.
Why would that happen? I'm always for truth.
It's belittled by someone instigating a bad perception on the man who is loved in Africa. Just as Mugabe, someone brought a bad perception. But the man took a step to give land. Nobody in Zimbabwe was telling me he would surrender the land. I was asking so many of them, bring back the land now. You said it was bad. These boys, the MDC, in the club where I went, they even loved me more. They were telling me, Mudara, why don't you come and stand here? We give you the votes here. You know? I interacted with the local masses. So the legacy of President Uhuru Kenyatta, it must be kept. He wants unity. He has said, Raila and I must live unity. We must live a united country. For you who brutally wants to ascend to power in brutalized manner. Have you heard my English? You cruise in a brutalized journey. That whoever stands in the way, I will brutalize him. That is not the politics that we look for in this country. That's why South Sudan, on my plane when I was leaving Nairobi, I left with South Sudan leader. I left with Obasanjo. By the way, I don't know whether you give me time in the afternoon to tell you this. Obasanjo, I said now, Your Excellency, Mr. Obasanjo, we are now completing the journey which I told you in 2002. We are now going to bury the hero. He said, you don't forget that you have not forgiven me. I said, no. You remember when you saved me? Me, I'm Frank man. I saw him when I was entering the plane. I also saw him seated with me. So what stops me? I know him. What stops me from talking to him? We left, we went together to go and bury. I said, have you seen now? If the plane goes down today to you and me, you disagreed with Mugabe. Now here we are. I agreed with Mugabe. We are left.
He was in Kenya when you left together from Kenya?
From Jomo Kenyatta International Airport.
He was around here? Or
I don't know. He was transiting.
Ah, okay.
He came from Kenya Airways from Abuja. Or Lagos. I think he said Lagos, which was the nearest.
Okay.
Up to Nairobi connecting to go. This was at midnight, at about 10:22 when I left here on Friday. So you look at all this. This purpose was to bury, to finally send off. I wanted to hear the hymns, the army hymns played, and that the good songs. And I came back. I saw. I'm very inspired by the zeal, the readings, the everything, what Mugabe did, the type of reception that the people were giving on the roads as the body passed, inspired me.
And they say they'll bury him within a month because they have to build a mausoleum.
Yes, a mausoleum that everybody can go and see. Right. Like a Mao Zedong. He died 33 years ago.
The China.
Yes, but we see him live. And the China has become the master of the world. Chinese were importing rice. Now they don't import rice. They give us rice. That's the life we lead in Africa.
All right, Evangelist,
thank you.
You're saying you're watching us all the way from Malaysia. And Henry Chinedo, you're saying you're watching from Israel, and good afternoon to you. Peter Ochinioba, you're saying you're watching from India, and God bless Biafra. And of course, Positive Energy, you're saying you're watching us all the way from Lausanne in Switzerland. And we will be with our leader tomorrow, you've said, in Geneva. So are you traveling to Geneva? Oh, you're already in Switzerland there. So, Ediwoma Igwe, good, like you're saying, we're happy for Africa. God bless Biafra. And Eko Chiku Joshua, you're saying you're watching us from Dublin. And George Nava, all right, thank you there for your message. Night Michael, you're saying, great to see you, Doctor. And Miriam, watching all the way from Western Australia, Perth. And I think it's a good evening to you there. And thank you for tuning in. So, in case there's anything else out there we need to know, that please let us know. So one part of the, I don't know, what made headlines from Mugabe's funeral, I think, especially when you look at the international media, they focused more on the part of the stadium that was empty, and that sort of watered down the whole thing that was going on during the mass there that happened. So anyways, do I just go read the African news quickly? Or the international media, if you could read the international media, they focused more on the empty part of the stadium. And so that watered down everything that was happening there on that day, of course. And
no, the empty part of the stadium can be explained. It was very simple. The empty part was as empty because the previous night people had danced throughout in another stadium. They dance in Rufaro Stadium.
Rufaro, yes.
This is National Sports Stadium. Then there is Rufaro. And most people wanted to see the funeral, the burial not the funeral service. The confusion came from the family, and as a family, people live respect. So some of us who are close friends of Emerson said, please, let the wife decide. Let her not use it against you. Because if he uses it against the president, that they took my body of my husband, that's an African abomination.
That will be an abomination.
Yes. We Africans don't fight over dead body.
All right.
Why can't the media in the West talk about Boris addressing an empty stadium?
I know yesterday was
a press conference.
Jeered. He didn't even get to address that.
Yes.
They refused.
These are stupid. These ones. They are stupid. They are stupid media. You don't have a media. Look, there's no media here. They just don't like Africa.
All right, and Mika, Benny, you're saying you're watching from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. God bless Biafra. And positive, you said you'll go out for the meeting. I don't know what time it is scheduled. So tomorrow, please come back here. Join us very early. I need to know the details of that meeting. If we can, you can even send us a message on what is happening. It's good to get the information from first hand. We will really appreciate his heading there to meet with IPOB leader, Mr. Nnamdi Kanu. So let me just take us through what is making headlines in Africa this, I think it's afternoon, 17 minutes past noon there here in Nairobi, Kenya. And then we'll come back and talk about Biafra, Ambazonia, and other news making headlines across Africa. And we start, of course, with Kenya here. And Peter Tabichi from Kenya, who was named world's best teacher earlier this year, met with U.S. President Donald Trump at the White House ahead of a speech he's giving at the United Nations General Assembly. Brother Tabichi, a member of the Franciscan Religious Order, won the 2019 Global Teacher Prize in March, and he teaches science at Keriko Mixed Days Secondary School in Kenya's Nakuru County, located 188 kilometers from Kenya's capital, Nairobi. And South Africa has apologized to Nigeria over a spate of attacks in which Nigerians and other foreigners have been targeted. A special envoy from South Africa presented an apology from President Cyril Ramaphosa to his Nigerian counterpart Muhammadu Buhari in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. The envoy, Jeff Radebe, told President Buhari that South Africa government condemned the violence and was taking decisive action. Mr. Buhari thanked Mr. Radebe for coming to explain to us what happened in South Africa recently, leading to killing and displacement of foreigners. And Rwanda says more than 200 of its citizens are being illegally detained in Uganda. Delegations from the two neighboring countries have been holding discussions in the Rwandan capital Kigali to work towards resolving political and security tensions. The meeting followed an agreement signed by the two countries' presidents in Angola last month. And the prosecutor at the International Criminal Court, Fatou Bensouda, says she will appeal against the acquittal of Ivory Coast's ex-president Laurent Gbagbo in charges of crimes against humanity. He was conditionally released earlier this year after 7 years in detention. Mr. Gbagbo is currently in Belgium and could have returned to Ivory Coast had the prosecutor decided against appealing. Ms. Bensouda blamed that she called legal and procedural errors in the original court process, which led to the acquittal of Mr. Gbagbo, the first head of state to stand trial at The Hague. So Fatou is not done with Gbagbo yet, but we'll talk about it.
You hold it there.
Yes.
The stupidity of this woman is what I am warning Kenyans against. You remember I just said to here that this woman wants to leave a legacy. The case of Babugo was a very straightforward case. It was a miscarriage of justice. Babugo should have stood trial with Quatara in international law. If Quatara was supposed to be charged, Babugo was also supposed to be charged. Because there were two sides that sparked a violence that killed the people of Ivory Coast. For Fatou Bensouda to continue to pursue this case because she has left no legacy. I killed her legacy. I destroyed it and I will destroy it. I will go back again. This time Babugo is out. You are not going to take him to back. Even if you appeal, we shall defeat you. Because Babuko was not the only person, key player in the war. The central point of international law is both criminal liabilities. The highest criminal liabilities of any scenario on the world must pay the price. Who are the highest criminal objects of international law here? Babugo and Kotara. So if you are to take Kotara, if Babugo, you must take Kotara. The current president of Ivory Coast, Cote d'Ivoire. You don't take one man only and say you are appealing. Peeling over what? You useless woman. Very useless.
All right, and
very useless person. That is a woman who has let down this court. She should retire quickly. But remember me. Remember my words, Kenyans. Remember. And let the deputy president and the president remember my words. This woman is very bad. I wanted to take the case of work envelope and kill it. I lost money. I paid the heavy bill from my pocket. The case was dangled by Justice Lenora. He's now the Supreme Court laughing there. Dangled me. 2 years. Lastly, I lost. Nobody has ever come to my rescue to even pay me for anything of that loss of that payment of the legal fees of work envelope. I wanted the work envelope, and the Kenyans should watch and listen, because this is very important for people here. As long as the work envelope and the rubbish of work envelope runs around you, you get the point. It's still there, cemented. Put in your book, history book. Fatou Bensouda will come and page 42 of it. Open. Yes. Here we went wrong. Have you seen what she has done now? That's exactly what she has done.
She will do here.
Yes, that there were errors. She didn't see those errors before, Miriam.
That should be a warning shot to it.
I always tell people and they laugh at me, maybe because I have a very ugly face, but it's okay. Thank you. Thank you. Soon you look for this guy, you might not see him. I'm telling you, soon. Because I have lowered myself too much and everybody goes on thinking I'm their degree. I've lowered myself. I'm going to go back to where I belong. Because I've done enough. You see the program that comes out? They go and pick. Oh, the Ugandan activist, Dr. Matsanga, filed this. I am the filer. I'm the one who filed the complaint. Okay, where were their people? Where's the Attorney General? Why didn't the Attorney General see that there is a Somali lawyer, a judge there? Why do you carry government money and run with it to the Hague? That you are going to do what, surely? When you have seen a Somali judge there, why don't you first file to disagree? Mr. President, why? What? No, tell me. Why do you go to fight? There is a Somali judge there. You think the first allegiance for this judge is this country, not your country. Then you continue to say, we are not coming, we are constituting lawyers. To hell. Constitute what? There's a simple thing to finish this case. Very simple. And this time, I'll not say it. Let it come. Let me do my part. I have done it. But I'm not going to be fooled anymore. I'm really very upset. I'm telling you, Miriam. I've had enough. I'm going to, you just, in these days to come, watch for my statement.
All right.
There are countries that can appreciate my work. But you tell people, have you seen what Fatou Bensouda is doing? She's coming for Babugo. After Babugo was released, and you know Babugo went through a trial. What about us who never went through a trial? Umeona hiyo? Tuko na shida.
Yeah, so she will appeal for the acquittal of Bagbo.
Lakini, if she can appeal the acquittal of Babugo, what about us?
There are possibilities. And I think they're watching very much at the situation in Kenya right now. So do I go to the next one now? And then we can talk about it.
Yes. It's a very interesting thing there.
All right. So West Africa leaders have pledged $1 billion over 5 years starting in 2020 to combat Islamist militancy in the region, but some are skeptical it will lead to improved security. Initial media reports suggest that half of the money could come from the West African Economic Monetary Union, a grouping of the region's French-speaking countries and Guinea-Bissau. The other half could come directly from member states of the Western African regional body ECOWAS, along with Mauritania and Chad, both of which have been attacked by the militant groups. And court rooms across Cameroon are empty as lawyers embark on a 5-day strike. They are protesting about alleged abuses against them and their clients committed, they say, by law enforcement officers. The head of the Cameroon Bar Council, Charles Chakute Party, said lawyers have been physically assaulted and denied access to their clients. They also complain about exorbitant court charges, the trial of accused persons in a language they do not understand, the use of torture and inducements to extract information. An official from the Minister of Justice, Jean Dedou Momo, has been pleading with the lawyers to cooperate rather than confront the government. And the remains of former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe, who died on September 6th, arrived in his home village on Monday for a subdued farewell at a dusty sports field after a weekend state funeral with African leaders in the capital. Mugabe was given a state funeral on Saturday, but the return of his body's return to his place of birth northwest of the capital was a low-key event. The brown coffin with silver trimmings, only about 1,000 mourners were there to receive his body in his village. And in Tunisia, latest official preliminary results by the Elections Authority in Tunisia put Kais Saied on the lead for presidency with 19% of the vote. The first round of the presidential election results are from Tunisia's 24 counties, with at least 45% participation is still trickling in. And a movement for the actualization of the sovereign state of Biafra says realizing independence for Biafra from Nigeria would end the numerous forms of slavery the Igbo suffer in the country. Leader of the movement, Uchenna Madu, stated in Augu, Enugu State, that during the 20th anniversary of celebration of the group, there was no going back in the struggle for Biafra Republic. And he added he was committed to the quest for an independent state of Biafra. And a civil society group has voiced concern about the continued restrictions on the movement of the main opposition leader, SPLM-IO chair Dr. Riek Machar, who fled from Juba in 2016 after fighting resumed between his forces and government forces in Juba. He was subsequently exiled to South Africa, where the IGAD placed him under house arrest. However, with the signing of the revitalized peace agreement last year, he was relocated to Khartoum, where he is presently staying. With the improved in the relations and his peace partner, President Salva Kiir, the executive director of the Foundation of Democracy and Accountable Governor, says IGAD should lift Dr. Machar's house arrest. And still in South Sudan, a forced recruitment of child soldiers is increasing in South Sudan. Despite a peace deal last year, the head of the United Nations investigations body said on Monday, adding that the return to a full-blown conflict remained a possibility. Some of the country's thousands of child soldiers were released after the 2018 accord, but the chair of the Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan said the investigators have recently observed a rehearsal as both government and rebel groups seek to swell their numbers. And that is the latest from Africa this afternoon. I'm disturbed.
Miriam.
I'm disturbed.
Miriam.
Yes.
I think you are going to agree today that I'm a prophet. I told you. If we are now shaking hands, then we are recruiting
child soldiers.
And the numbers are swelling. What are they swearing for? It's for a fight.
What are they preparing for?
So, last week when Riak came back, and one of the things that why IGAD is putting Riak under house arrest is that. Because if you leave him, he will go under recruit. Energize the recruiters to recruit. The government also is swelling its numbers in preparation for a war. The two tribes in Sudan might take long time if we don't go back to the basic analysis of their late leader, Garang. Garang had another view of the Sudan. Garang did not want Sudan to be divided. Garang wanted equality in Sudan. Garanga's view, and that's why maybe the people who never wanted a united Sudan did away with his life, or died, or God called him, I don't know. But Garanga wanted a united Sudan. Today, anybody who is doing this peace process outside Garanga's words is going to come to the same thing. The swelling numbers. Listen to that. Listen to that. Swelling numbers. Each side is swelling. What?
With child soldiers.
They were busy last week praying. The Pope even kissed their feet. But they are busy swelling the numbers.
With children.
If you think this is not Africa, then create another Africa. If you think this is not the Africa where Somalia looks at the ocean and says, we should go further. If you think that this is Africa, not Africa, then look at Africa. We are looking for one passport. To achieve one passport, so that Africans have one passport. And still we want a border. If you think this is not Africa, look at what happens to us in South Africa. When Ramaphosa, I liked the way, and I was one of the people who shouted.
He was jeered.
Who booed. Boo. Because Ramaphosa was telling us a lie. That's a lie. There is more to it. These are not criminal elements. These are organized ethnic, central ethnic chauvinists. They are going to destroy South Africa. By the way, I want to tell you one thing, and I mark it. You usually mark with your pen. And I remember this, and I said it. 5 countries must put their intelligence networks on alert. 1, South Africa. For regime change, 2, Zimbabwe. 3, Tanzania. 4, Uganda. And 5, guess what it is? Guess?
Not Kenya.
Yes. Thank you.
I thought they were done with Kenya.
No. If you see what Chebukati, that group is doing, Chebukati, Mariga, a faction of Ruto in Jubilee, Ekuro Ekot, have you seen where we are heading? We are playing in George Soros' hands. We have now landed on the topic of intrigue of politics. Can you announce the coming of the topic, Miriam? For the last few minutes left, how many do we have 25.
It's in 5 minutes, and the dangers of political intrigue in the Kenyan politics.
Yes.
Yes, so like what we are seeing right now.
Exactly. I'm on it.
It's a circus.
It's a circus. Several, George Soros, having seen that the civil society of Kenya cannot deliver, after the 2018, Raila decided to cross over to his brother. Because George Soros had hopes through Kofi Annan and the rest that the other side of opposition can turn over the government to them. George Soros went back to the drawing table. He looked for hungry elements in the Kenyan scenario. Hungry elements for money. You see, there are people here who can kill you for money. You know them yourself. Hungry for amassing. And those are the people George Soros wants. George Soros wants people who are hungry for money. They need it. Like today, they have it in the house, but they look at it, they say it is small. Maybe if I pile more, if I do another shaded deal, if I do another Chinese, if I get Chinese to drop cement in my house so that I can build mansions. Have you ever seen that? Have you ever stolen nails, iron sheet, cement, crowbars? People, higher. This is serious. So, the George Soros intrigue in here, and you better watch it as Kenyans. Look at it. It is here. Ekuru Ekot and the Punguza Mizigo. Tanga group against say what Ekuru Ekot says, we swallow it. You have seen the women in red. The other day they in Nakuru. What were they saying? They were telling President Uhuru Kenyatta, we don't know you. And they were saying it in front of His Excellency. The deputy was there. He was in the rally. But when he stood up, he didn't say, don't say those things. So you can see the divisions that you are having here are real. Now, if you think there's no regime change, look at that aspect. Analyze it. There is Dr. Evelyn Rosalind Akombe, the mastermind of the regime change in Kenya, who, after a bungled election, a bungled conspiracy espionage, she decided to go before the law catches her. Because had she stayed here, she was going to be caught and she could be in jail. She left. She's the master of international operations. Now, Ekuru Court, tell me where he got the money to marshal these signatures. Where he got the money to tell Chebukati, quickly announce that the signatures have been verified. The meetings that Ekuru Court has held with Chebukati in all private houses and hotels and restaurants, coincidentally, that we are just meeting, are documented. Now, if you don't see the regime change on the way, that is group number one. Group number two is the one within the Jubilee Party that are also shifting to that money syndrome. You saw it a few weeks ago, happening in Kiharu. It went to Taveta, to the coast. It is open war. It's intrigue. Someone has planted Machiavellian politics, and it is breaking this country daily, hour by hour, minute by minute. At the end of the day, this person will say, I am not I was not the one. So, the events that are happening will lead us to a scenario.
Back to the Hague. And Fatu is waiting. Because even for the Kenyan's cage, it was not completely.
No.
It's still open.
No.
It's an open-ended.
Madam,
so they could...
You squared it. As much as we are fighting for a legacy here, Madame Fatou is also fighting for a legacy. She wants to leave a legacy.
Absolutely.
And that legacy is going to be left when she finally says she gets the Kenyan case back. People are not seeing that. And today we are on the drums. I'm happy President Uhuru Kenyatta has kept quiet. And I thank you very much, Your Excellency. Keep quiet.
I think he learned.
Yes, keep quiet. Leave people to chest bump around here. Let them chest bump. They will cry. Because I see that coming. The BBI, I don't know why they did not. They should have just said redemption strategy. But this guy is feared to say, they will say, we got it from Matanga. You see, there is this idea of of people getting your idea and running with it without coming back to ask you how it can work. You have seen now it is facing a lot of challenges. Before it is even announced, someone has run with it. And is saying no. So it will be a government versus you. We are going to see a split in the government. One section of the MPs who support Mr. A are already saying we are not happy. We are not boarding the plane. Any questions?
Maybe I read a comment here by our viewer. He just wrote in, and Innocent Chigbu, thank you for writing to us and just saying, greetings to you, Dr. Matanga and the crew. You're doing a great job for Africa. May I bring to your attention that the leader of IPOB, that is Indigenous People of Biafra, who is tagged terrorist, meets with the United Nations officials today. Yes, I think I announced. I think you missed the show yesterday because that is an announcement we made here. And tomorrow on our show, I'll be bringing you the details of that meeting. I hope they'll be made public. But also another one of our viewers here, the question that when I was reading the news here just a while ago about the recruitment of child soldiers in South Sudan, I think this is something that perhaps the world thought, and all these players that have been trying to bring peace in South Sudan, I don't know, I feel very disappointed. Because it's like a ping-pong game the leaders of South Sudan are playing with the rest of the world and the rest of especially African countries that have been very supportive of them. And the people were not expecting that a news like this will still come from South Sudan, as if they do not have enough problems already. They are creating another generation. The other ones, the world have been trying to rehabilitate them, the children who are forced. And now it is also a forced recruitment of these children into the child soldiers. And when those two leaders met last week in Juba, they agreed that they will have 83,000 soldiers to just ready the country and have the security ready, so that and it will be brought from both sides. Is that not enough? And of course, there's still others. Do they still have to recruit child soldiers? I don't know who is doing this, but I think this is something that we should talk about, and they should know that the world knows that this is happening and it's not okay.
Yeah. On Sudan, ma'am, excuse me, I will not stay much because I've told you what is going to happen.
Yes.
Let's get another time, maybe slot it tomorrow. We look at the prospects of ending that problems of South Sudan. But as we hope now, let's wait and see what will come out of. The dangers of political intrigue in Kenya politics are real, are high, and the unity of purpose is very important.
Yes, right now.
And if we don't unite, there is a possibility that we can collapse.
Possible.
And there is a possibility that we might allow the enemy
to come in.
And
some other elements take it.
And one of the things that you left in this journey of intrigue is Kenya is chasing United Nations Security Council slot. Yesterday they unveiled the program I want to ask you as a Kenyan.
Is it the same one that Djibouti has gone there to challenge?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to ask you as a Kenyan.
Yes.
Do you have faith that we shall get this seat?
As it is right now, I'm not quite sure. I'm not confident.
Any Kenyan out there, can you tell us whether you will be able to get the United Nations seat? How many of you Kenyans drive towards the United Nations seat? What has Kenya done to deserve to have that seat? Let's pick that topic in the afternoon. I think it's a very good topic of the wee hours of 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock.
Where do we place it? The diaspora dispatches. What do you think?
All right, that will be okay.
4 o'clock gives us ample time, 4 hours, to plan that topic so that we look at it instead of doing something at night. Let's do that one. I will come into the weaknesses of Kenya's foreign policy and the strength of Kenya's foreign policy. Do we have a foreign policy? And is there the people at the helm of this foreign policy driving it? Why is Kenya finding itself in a pit hole of defense instead of fire? Isn't it going to be interesting?
It's going to be very, very interesting.
Kenya is firefighting instead of Kenya directing this country, this nation, this region. We should not be firefighting with Somalia.
All right, that will be a very, very interesting conversation.
The Kenyans fight for the United Nations Security Council slot. Successes, will it succeed or not? I think that's a better question. It depends on which side you want to stand. What are the prospects of Kenya's success in the slot? Let's look at them at 3:30 at the diaspora dispatches. And we dissect deeply. Have we done enough? Have we done enough?
So far, the lobbying, I don't know. But the work.
Who are the enemies?
Because I think Kenya was caught flat-footed there because it assumed because in the manner in which AU normally carries out and this selection, people vote at the AU at the local level, that is the body that represents us Africa, and then the person that the other members have decided and has voted to go represent Africa in this lot goes there. But Kenya assumed they've bagged that position and they became very comfortable. So the move by Djibouti to go and challenge this and say they will go still and by the United Nations, their Security Council, they'll still go ahead with that. I think nobody saw that coming. I don't think Kenya saw that coming, or other AU member states who had voted to support Kenya in this move. So it will be interesting to see how this will play out. The matter whether Kenya will be able to win this now, that is a very different arena altogether. So you don't know. Maybe Djibouti has been lobbying all these other countries. Also now they've been doing that. I don't know if Kenya has been doing enough, or it was shocked and it was still trying to recover, or I don't know what Kenya has been doing, but so far we've not been hearing much. But that is something that we are waiting to see after, that has been done, the new voting has been done. But the chances of Kenya, I think it could go either way, but I'm not very confident that actually it might. But let's see how that will happen, because it's a 50-50 chance. And Djibouti, that move by Djibouti, really, we did not see that coming. I don't think even our Foreign Affairs Ministry, even the Kenyan government saw that coming, so that Kenya was caught flat-footed. I don't know if they'll be able to recover and continue lobbying. And for the people who believe Kenya, because I was a Kenyan, and this is not, maybe I could be biased because I'm a Kenyan, but with all due respect and all things considered, I think Kenya deserves a position and a seat at the United Nations Security Council for its contribution towards this region and across Africa. And I think we do. I think we absolutely do. And we've earned it, not just deserved because we want it given to us. I think we've earned it in the manner Kenya has been leading in, of course, in this region when it comes to even the peace efforts and a lot of things Kenya has been doing through the different governments we've had, and now President Uhuru Kenyatta. So I think Kenya has earned its place at the United Nations Security Council. But of course, that is left to the members in African Union, who, if they feel the same way or not, and of course now the UN Security Council there, that is left to them, and the members there will vote. If they feel Kenya or Djibouti, they will decide that. But if you ask me, I think Kenya deserves a chance and a shot for this position, and we'll see how that plays out.
Yes. Finally, that is all what we have today. We have, I think we consumed the intrigues in the Soros scenario.
Yes.
But what comes out up Kenyatta to skip Mariga Kibra Jubilee campaign?
He's not even interested. President Kenyatta is not even
interested in Kibra as a Jubilee. You see, those are the type, that's what made me to come with this intrigue. There's a lot of intrigue there. There's a section of people who lined up. Even when you know very well that Mariga is not going to vote for himself. If Mariga goes through elections,
he can't even vote for himself.
It goes through elections.
He's not registered in Kibra.
He's not voted for himself.
No, the part that worries me, and of course my worry does not count here. I do not come from Kibra, but as a young person in this country, and the way young people normally complain so much about the spaces and the opportunities that lack, and then you see this very influential young person, McDonald Mariga. He's a respected football player. He's played in leading European teams. Then he's retired. He's back in the country, and to learn that he just registered in August for the first time. He's never voted in this country. I feel very insulted as a person who has been actively participating, so I have a right to speak because I've been participating and electing some of these leaders. But this person has never even bothered. Yeah, he lacks that patriotism in him because that is what it is, Dr. Matanga. This person has never bothered to participate in an exercise that could change the future in this country, that requires his participation. He's never thought that would be important. How can the Kibra people now think that he could even represent them the best way they want, and maybe carry on the legacy of the late Member of Parliament, Mr. Ken Okoth, who did very marvelous works there at Kibra constituency. So this, that he's registering for the first time and wants to vie, I feel very insulted as a young person in this country, not very young, but I've been voting for a couple of other general elections, and even the referendum. I voted for that, and this person has never even cared to participate. Now he's coming. He wants to be a leader in this country.
He will be fraud. Kibra will be won by.
This is an insult.
You can't defeat Raila in Kibra.
To Kenyans who've been dedicated in electioneering process in this country, and he's never cared to do that.
Let me tell you, you can't defeat Raila.
That is an open secret. But I'm just saying,
unless Kebukati will be stealing votes.
From where?
I don't know.
But I feel very insulted, especially other leaders who also in Jubilee Party who would have wanted to carry that flag and represent Jubilee Party, who have been participating in the elections, who actually have even tried perhaps vying for this position before and have failed. This would have been a good opportunity for one of them to be given that opportunity. But for Mariga, I think this goes against, I think, anything that we want young people out there to do. So I don't know if he's even the best candidate, or maybe they just set him up there because they knew maybe he will not even go so far. So let the police deal with his here forged documentation ID. I don't know. That is not for us to say, but police is now investigating that. But I feel that the fact that he's registered last month to vie for Kibra, he's never voted in this country. That is an insult for many young people who have been voting and participating in this electioneering process in this country. And he's never cared. That tells us the kind of person he is. He's never cared. So I don't know why he even thinks that Kibra people might want such a person he would care enough for them and will represent their interest enough. And when you see him in public, I don't know why Boni Halole is his spokesperson. Let this person speak for himself and let him address the people of Kibra and let them decide if they even want him. So just stop talking on his behalf. I don't know. Some things are just... Anyway, so we see our viewers on our next on our next broadcast. We apologize for that rant, but some things are just not right. Some people worked so hard for us to have this democratic space that we enjoy today, and for a person like this who now wants to vie in this country, and it's clear he never, took that democracy even very seriously, and now he wants to come in and represent a section of Kenyans. I think it's just a slap on the face of the people who have been working so hard to make sure that democracy in this country strengthens, and that calls for participation even from the citizens of Kenya here. So thank you so much for joining us and for engaging with us. So I hope that we'll see you on our next broadcast later on in the late afternoon, and then tomorrow, Good Morning Africa. Of course, I'll bring you the latest update from the meeting that Nnamdi Kanu is having today with some United Nations officials there in Geneva, Switzerland, and a few of our viewers here are saying that they will be participating in that meeting. So thank you, and hopefully tomorrow you'll come here and give us some updates of what happened today. Otherwise, we'll see you later on today. Bye-bye for now.
Thank you. The International Court of Justice is a court that was created to solve problems of disputes of any nature. But this court was created on the basis that times could change, and the constitutionalism and the mandate could also change. The International Court of Justice has never changed. In this court, there is no chamber for appeal. There is no chamber for amicus curiae, for people to bring in their opinions in terms of individuals or organizations that are hurt in one way or the other, or good opinions that could shape the outcome of the findings or the cases filed there. This court, therefore, remains one of the most obnoxious, one of the most opaque institutions whose findings we don't know who decides and how the decisions are taken, how stakeholders are supposed to recourse to a remedy, where to get a remedy, we don't know. A court has no chambers, no lower chamber, no upper chamber for appeal. It has itself as a final court of jurisdiction around the world. Are the people of the world going to say, is Somalia and Kenya going into this court, seeing the obstacles that they will cause for the region? Those are the questions I ask. And I want my viewers and those listening to this tape to understand that Africa needs to solve the problem in an African way. There is no other way to solve the problem of Somalia and Kenya amicably than sitting on a table to have a discussion, find ways of resolving the conflict that has brought us to not talking terms. But Somalia seems to be pushed by external dark forces to go and dismember the unity that we have in the Great Lakes region and the Horn of Africa. ICJ as a court is an institution that is very opaque, very dark in its sense of darkness, that you don't know how decisions are made. There is no counter checks and balances in the decision making. I therefore urge Somalia and Kenya not to attend this court. I urge Somalia and Kenya to avoid this court for the sake of peace in the Indian Ocean. I also have called upon the countries that are supporting Somalia to take this case, to withdraw their support for the sake of security, because we have only one common enemy. The enemy are the terrorists killing the innocent Somalis who need our help to be liberated from these fighters who have come and gathered in the great once country of the Pearl, one of the African Pan-African countries in Africa. Thank you very much, viewers. That is my message to the world. Let's spread it. The International Court of Justice is opaque. It doesn't have appeal chamber. It doesn't have preparation chamber. It doesn't have any. Once the decision is made, the decision is final. Do we need that? We call that democratic. I leave it to you. Thank you.